There's no fury like a woman scorned, especially if that scorn is having lost a brother to a murder bot and a lover to murder alien, and especially when that woman has hex powers. There are a lot of hard luck stories in the superhero world, whether you make yours Marvel or you're an aficionado of the distinguished competition. Whether it's Golden Age or Silver Age, almost every superhero has dead loved ones or entire planets in their past, fueling both their sadness and their drive to right the wrongs of the world. When those dastardly deeds they're undoing hit home, those heroes can pour it on. And for Scarlet Witch in the MCU, they've continually notched up her power. Let's look at how she's laid it down in the MCU. While everyone was invited to the rap party battle for the Infinity Saga, sorry Marvel Entertainment titles, maybe next time, not everyone got their chance to dance with the homecoming king, Thanos. The big three of the original squad took their turn before reinforcements arrived on Cap's left. But for the most part, that became army against army. Two members not of the original squad got their swing at the big purple menace, and they were the first ones that Thanos had faced that also got their power from Infinity Stones. Finding out that headbutting someone who draws their power from the Space Stone while she's holding the Space Stone is a bad idea was a shocker. But the real pain came from being reintroduced to Wanda Maximoff. Wanda didn't have time to process her grief. She had to kill her boyfriend only to watch Thanos unkill her boyfriend just to kill him again.
No! God, please, no!
Taking the Mind Stone and then snapping her out of existence. When she was snapped back into existence, she went straight to the source of her pain and decided to share it. Thanos had to sacrifice his own troops to get out of it. If the Thanos from Endgame had been able to talk to his future self, he would have known to be wary of the Avenger in red. Thanos had already faced off against various groups of Avengers at one point or another. He won a one-on-one against the Hulk, he beat Thor and the Asgardians before the cameras even rolled. Even a team-up of Avengers and Guardians of the Galaxy only managed to create a single drop of blood. When the time came to get the last stone, Thanos was no longer in a playing mood. One by one, Avengers squared off against the Big Purple, only to be pushed aside like children trying to keep a parent from seeing what they did to the living room. All of a sudden, a fighting spirit wasn't enough. The Mad Titan had his eyes on the prize. While he might take a moment to marvel and Captain America's inability to give up, it was business time. That is, until it came to Scarlet Witch. While she was busy doing the sad work of destroying the Mind Stone that powered her synthezoid boyfriend, she managed to spare a hand to stop Thanos in his tracks. Not all power should be measured at the business end of a punch or energy blast. A lot of heroes have super strength, but only one of those heroes with super strength has the peak of that strength as an open question. The rest of them are limited to notions like peak possible human based on super soldier serum, or proportional strength of a spider from a radioactive spider bite. The real power is finding ways to take that power you have and amplify it, or to turn the power of your enemy against you. Wanda was able to pull a twofer by amplifying her own power and turn her enemy's biggest power against them. In this case, that enemy was the Avengers, and the biggest power was the Super Mad Hulk.
I want the big one.
Prior to WandaVision, we hadn't seen much of Wanda's mind-messing abilities, except in her introduction during Age of Ultron, where she tortured Tony Stark with visions of a future he couldn't prevent, and Captain America a past he could no longer return to. But when she got her mind power mitts on the Hulk, that turned the tide. She angered up a Hulk and aimed him at the biggest population center she could find, downtown Johannesburg. There aren't many in the superhero life who've had a good time of it leading up to superhero status.
You're an Avenger now.
A tragic backstory is kind of a requisite to join the club. Generally speaking though, breaking good and saving the day is supposed to come with a bit of a honeymoon period, where you, well, save the day.
I'd love to keep this up, but I've only got one job here today and I gotta impress Mr. Starks.
When Wanda stepped out that door and became an Avenger, she had moved her dial from bad guy to good guy, realizing Hydra and Ultron had used her anger over her dead parents to create even more dead parents. After having survived days waiting for a Stark mortar to explode, and experimentation by Strucker, and even managing to hold their own against the Avengers, the Maximoff twins weren't good guys for much longer than a day before Quicksilver had to make the big sacrifice. The connection between twins can be strong, especially when one of them is a telepath. When Wanda felt Pietro die, we all got a preview of how powerful Wanda can get when she's in pain, tearing apart several Ultron drones at once. Wanda hasn't been around long enough as an Avenger to have her own rogues gallery. In the comics, she has folks like the Grim Reaper, whose helmet so far has made a cameo in the opening sequence of episode 2 of WandaVision, and eventually she seems to take the umbrage with the very nature of reality itself. For those unfortunate enough to get on her bad side in the MCU, she has come very hard at everyone. When she got the chance to get back at Tony Stark, she was willing to make sure that her revenge was dark, crushing his spirit. Then there was that whole Thanos thing. There are a few members of the Black Order that ended up on Wanda's It's Personal list. Clovis Glaive and Proxima Midnight were sent to retrieve the Mind Stone from Vision's head, and like a lot of people, underestimated Wanda. Proxima knew enough to get the drop on Wanda for their round 2, but she didn't know that Wanda had backup. Then Wanda sent Proxima into one of Thanos' spinning rototillers. It wasn't a big demonstration of power, as much as it was how Wanda deals with people that have hurt her. Ooh, that's a lot of blood.
That's really gross.
Most of the pain that Wanda has delivered has been a direct reflection of the pain someone has inflicted on her or someone she loves. But even the one she can't let go of has been on the receiving end of Wanda's power. Vision was put in charge of keeping an eye on Wanda after the events in Lagos. It isn't likely that Tony was able to recognize young love between the Synthezoid and the Magic Woman. Vision was the only one who had a shot at stopping Wanda if she decided that she wanted out. Turns out though that he wasn't up for the task, but not for the lack of trying. When Tony let it slip that he had Wanda in protective custody, Cap sent Barton to get her out. But Barton's big escape plan was to tell Wanda that she could leave if she wanted to. Who's gonna stop her, Vision? Huh? Nope. When Wanda made the choice to leave, she went straight through Vision by pushing him down through the Avengers building levels. She went so hard that even Hawkeye was set back a bit of how many floors down Vision ended up. Oof, that's gotta hurt. Most people's round 2 with Wanda doesn't go very well. When she issues you a first warning, it's probably best to take it. The only exception to that rule would be the first person to make Wanda's hate list, Tony Stark.
You locked me in my room.
Okay, first, that's an exaggeration.
Her first round with Iron Man, she destroyed Tony from the inside, taking down the one seemingly indestructible part of Tony Stark, his confidence.
Yeah, I detected that too.
For round 2, Wanda kept it conventional, but that doesn't mean that she held back. For a bit of a distraction from Hawkeye, Wanda took the liberty of dumping an entire garage full of cars on Iron Man's head. Having it happen during a battle that was all highlights is understandable to miss how much power was on display. It was well established that she moves things with her mind, but an entire garage full of cars at once is a massive amount of power. Sure hope those guys had insurance, huh? It's clear the guilt over the events in Lagos weigh heavily on Wanda's conscience. Even Captain America couldn't inspirational speech her way out of that feeling. It's the crisis point in Civil War that replaces the comic book's reality show hero team explosion that kickstart the legislation at the center of both Civil War events. But it wasn't Wanda's bomb, and it wasn't even Wanda's power amplifying the bomb. Professional Captain America hater Brock Rumlow, aka Crossbones, had rigged himself up to explode so that he could take out Captain America and the people Captain America was trying to save. But at the moment of explosion, Wanda contained the explosion, which is crazy if you think about it. Most people with super soldier-induced reflexes didn't have the time to flinch, and Wanda contained an explosion that was apparently big enough to take out 2 stories of a building. That's power. Her only mistake was not moving the explosion away from the building, but regardless, she still saved lives. And General Ross made her feel bad about it. Man, what a jerk. Awesome mustache, but still, he's a jerk. If you're not watching WandaVision and you think you're going to, but you're still trying to avoid spoilers, then these next 2 entries are not for you. Spoiler alert, spoiler alert. But if you have watched the show, well then, you know we're getting to the good stuff. Of course, the most obvious display of power takes place in Westview, New Jersey. Unlike Sokovia or Lagos or New York, that had areas that were affected by the events of the town, Westview had its entire reality rewritten, not just once, but several times, as Wanda's power grip on the town grows, or shrinks, or grows with someone else. We don't know yet. The more we find out about what's happening in WandaVision, the more questions that are raised. But what we do know is that it's a world of Wanda's design. It's not just an illusion, it's a complete reality. After all, Vision is the illusion, she's the glamour. That sounds better the less you think about it. We haven't seen a display of power like that in the MCU outside of Ego the Living Planet, and he's a Celestial. There are plenty of moments of Wanda just casually using enough power to make anyone nervous. Like here's a montage of the Scarlet Witch just slamming people into things or things into people. Ouch! And we wouldn't want to leave out things like, stopping a runaway train, the holy grail of superherodom, or using the giant rototillers to wipe out a huge swath of Thanos' Outlanders. That was pretty awesome. We might be inclined to include ripping a Quicksilver out of an alternate reality, but she promises that she didn't do that. Probably 50-50, we'll see. A special shout out would go to one of Scarlet Witch's gnarliest moments, when she shows Ultron what it feels like to lose someone by ripping out his metal heart. But that's not even Wanda's most savage moment. Oh my, no. All of that leads to maybe the coolest scene Wanda has had since she reintroduced herself to Thanos. If you're not up to episode 5 of WandaVision, you might want to jump this entry. Acting director Tyler Hayward, who quickly went from understanding colleague to giving off some serious Alexander Pierce, Thaddeus Ross vibes, might want to check with the other people Wanda's tangled with when it comes to getting a warning. Walking out of a reality of her own creation into a whole bunch of laser sights and still be the one who's dictating terms is quite the entrance. All that confidence probably comes from knowing that she's the one who gets to decide who shoots who if it comes down to it. It was clearly one of Wanda's coolest moments in the MCU. Sure hope that guy's wearing his brown pants. You don't want to get on the wrong side of Wanda. Fortunately, you know exactly when that happens. If her eyes glow red, take a moment to consider your actions. Rethink your life. If she tilts her head to the side, start making excuses to leave. If she starts making those red balls with her hands, just apologize for whatever it is you did.